In this movie we're going to create this chair. This chair is created from chamfer boxes and splines that are used to create the metallic parts of the chair. Okay, so I'm going to choose File Reset and I'm going to start a new file. In my top view I'm going to choose Snap and make sure that the snap is set to grid points. And then I'm going to go down to Extended Primitives and choose Chamfer Box. Now I'm going to create a chamfer box like so, and then I'm going to go to my Modify panel to change the dimensions of my chamfer box. So the width is going to be set to 40 and the length is going to be set to 45. The height is 10 and the fillet is 10, but I'm going to increase the fillet segments to a value of 4. So this will give me a nice curved part. Now I'm also going to increase, in this case, the width segments to a value of 13 and the length segments to a value of 4. Next, I'm going to choose Modifiers, Mesh Editing, Edit Mesh. I'll expand Edit Mesh and click on Vertex. I switch then to my front view and I'm going to select every other 2 vertices, like so. Having done that, I'll click on the Move tool and I'll move them down to create the grooves inside my leather. So if I deselect my object, I would see the result. Now this groove has to be smaller than the way it is right now, and to make it smaller I'm going to click on Vertex again and I'll select each 3 columns of vertices and scale them down using the same value. To get exactly the same value I have to look down here, and I'm scaling down by a value of 30%. So each one of those has to be scaled by a value of 30%. Actually scaled to a value of 30%. Okay, so this is what I have now in my perspective view. I'm going to switch to my top view now and I'm going to select the front vertices and move them inwards. I'm pressing Ctrl to add to my selection. Okay, I have to deselect those, move inwards to create the top side grooves. Alright, so this is what I have for now. Okay, next I'm gonna make the sides a bit flatter than the way they are right now. So I'm gonna go to Vertex again, and I'm gonna select these vertices and I'm gonna scale them down in the x-axis again to a value of 30%. And then I'm gonna move them inwards like so. And I'll do the same for the other side. So select the vertices, scale in the x-axis to a value of 30%, and then move inwards. So if I look at this now, I see that I'm starting to have a nice shape for my chair part. What I'm going to do next is make the front part higher than the lower part. And I can do this by using an FFD deformer. I'm going to go to Modifiers and choose Freeform Deformers, and I'll choose FFD 3x3x3. This will add a freeform deformation modifier that has control points which I can move and therefore expand the object the way I like it. So that way I can make the front part thicker than the back part. Once I'm happy with my result, I will deselect control points so that I go back to my original object. Now with the FFD modifier I can still select and scale up or down the extent of my chair. Now it's time for me to create different materials for different parts of this model, and for that I'm going to add an Edit Mesh modifier again, and I'll choose Polygon this time. Now in the front view I'm going to select all the polygons, and then I'm going to press Alt on the keyboard and deselect these polygons. So now I have the edges or the extreme parts of my object selected. So I'll press M on the keyboard and choose standard material, and I'm going to name this material black leather, and I'm going to assign it to my selection. Then I'll go to my diffuse channel and I'll set the color to black, and then I'm going to increase the specular level and the glossiness to something like this to have some shininess in my leather. Now I'll select the other material and I'll double click again on the standard, and I'll call the other material white leather. Now I'll choose edit and select invert to select the other polygons, and I'll assign the white leather, and I'll set the diffuse color to white. It doesn't have to be necessarily pure white, it can be light gray. So having done this now, I'm gonna right click and convert my object to an editable poly. The reason I did that is I want to select the borders of the side of the chair. So I'm going to select a few edges and press Control on the keyboard so that all the border edges will be selected, or parts of them, and then I'm going to click on Loop, and this will select the whole part for me. I have to make sure though that no other parts are selected. Okay, having done this, I'm gonna go down and choose Create Shape from Selection. So I'm gonna name my shape Border Line. Now I'll press OK. Now if I select the borderline shape and I go to rendering, I can click on renderable and display render mesh, and this will give me a thick part or a thick extrusion of my shape. So I can play with the thickness by changing the thickness value here. I'm going to set the value to 0.75. Okay, so this is what I have now. I'm going to select this, and I'm going to create a mirror by going to the mirror tool and choose Copy and OK. So now I have this object created at both sides of my chair. Alright, so what I'm going to do next is select all of these elements and choose modifiers, freeform deformers, and FFD 2x2x2, and then I'm going to go to control points, select the front control points, and scale them upwards in the x-axis like so. And I'm gonna move them a bit back so that I don't have a very lengthy object. Okay, I'm gonna select all of these now again, and I'm gonna move them upwards by a value of 40. So I'll put them over here, and I'm gonna create a copy of this. So I'm gonna choose rotate and angle snap, and I'm gonna press shift in the left view and create a rotation like so. I'm going to choose OK, and then I'm going to rotate them again to have this orientation, and then go back. And then I'll move the object upwards like so. So now this is what I have. Next I want to create the legs of the chair. And for that I'm going to go to my left view, I'll click on Create Shapes Line, and I'll press S to snap, and I'll go up like so. Now of course I have to move this point backwards, but I clicked it here so that I could snap to that point. I'm going to choose vertex, and I'll put my vertex backwards, and this one I'll put it a bit up front. Now the way this design is going is that I'm going to select both these vertices, I'm going to right click on one of them and choose Bezier corner. The reason I did that is because now I can play with the curvature and create a nice design for the legs of my chair, and I can do the same for the front vertices by converting them to Bezier corner. So select this one, here I probably have to uncheck this there under mesh so that I can see the vertex, and I will create the following curvature for this part of the model. Alright, so having done this, I will go to my front view and select these two vertices and move them a little bit to the side in the X direction, and I'm going to do the same for their handles. Now I'll uncheck vertex and I'll move this like so. Okay, what I need to do still is go to vertex, select these two vertices, and go down and choose fillet to curve out these vertices like so. And then I'll go up again to rendering and I'll choose display under mesh and I'll set the thickness to 2. So now this is the part that I have. I'm going to note this value here. It's -15 centimeters. So I'm going to click on mirror and mirror a copy, which I will set to a value of +15 centimeters. Now the last thing I need to do is create the joining part by going to my left view, click on create line. I'll press S to snap here, and then I'll go upwards like so. Now I have to go to vertex, select this vertex and move it backwards, and move this backwards again because I'm going to move the back a little bit backwards like so. I'll select this vertex and I'm going to fillet it the way I filleted the other vertices. So I'll go down and choose fillet and go like that. Okay, now I'm going to go to my front view and move this backwards like so. So this is again -15. I'm going to make a copy, shift move, and type +15 for the other copy. Okay, now what I need to do still is assign materials to these metallic elements. So I'll select them all by pressing Ctrl, and I'm going to press M on the keyboard, select a new material slot and choose Get Material, but this time I'm going to choose Material Library, and I'm going to choose Metal Chrome, and I'm going to assign this to my object. So that would be my chair. If I want to render this, press render on the keyboard, and that would be the result.